I'm going to try something a little different today. Um, Rather than just diving straight in to a game, I'm going to do a quick tactics session first. I'm thinking maybe 15 minutes or so. Tonight it'll take the form of however long it takes for my laundry to be done. But I think it might be a good way to warm up in the future. So I'm going to give it a shot and just see how it goes. All right, so an obvious move would be knight e3 check, but doesn't really seem to do a whole lot. I think the real issue in this position is this pawn for white. I mean, white is simply threatening knight to g5 check, then next two squares for the pawn are both defended, so I think I just have to take the pawn with the knight. I'm trying to see if there's any sort of follow-up there. I'm not getting mated because I'll be giving myself g7 square. Also, that's another somewhat important threat, is that white is threatening checkmate right now. But if I take the pawn, there's no checkmate. So I'm just going to take the pawn. Alright, so that was correct. Hopefully this green layout is okay for chess tempo. Maybe we can make it a little better. Okay. Yeah, let's try that. It seems to be a little bit better. I know it's not ideal. Maybe I can create a new template for this at a later time. Okay, so my queen is obviously attacked, but at the same time, I've got to be pretty close to checkmating white. So, I mean, even just going like knight here only leaves black with two legal moves. It's important to note that I'm down a somewhat substantial amount of material. So I probably need to be checkmating white, or else this position is just lost. So knight here check. Let's just say king here. Yeah, then I can push the pawn and I would have a discovered check. And would, oh no, I couldn't because the queen's right there. Yeah. So maybe queen here is actually a better way to start. Yeah, queen here, and there's only one move. And queen here, perhaps? I mean, I can't quite work out the mate, but it seems like that should be leading to checkmate very shortly. Actually, it may even be it's queen here, king here. Okay, excuse me. So queen c2 check, king b4. He then, oh no, he can always just take that bishop if I pop down. So queen b3 check, king c5, queen c4 check. Yeah, it starts looking a little unclear there. Maybe he's escaping. I mean, at the very least, I'm winning a rook, but even if I win the rook, I'm still down in exchange, so I don't think that's enough. I think I need to find a mate. In the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and play this move, because I felt pretty certain that one at least was correct. So now the question is how to proceed. I can play this check though, because this check only move is rook takes f8, and then I would just have queen c4 check mate. I believe that is going to be the answer. Yeah. Okay, so a nice little sacrifice idea there. Okay, I'll try to get in a few more, then I'll go check on the laundry. Okay, I mean, a very obvious looking move would be queen takes c2 check. And then, of course, the forced king to e1. And can I not just follow it up with checkmate immediately? Sure, looks like it. Okay, so that one was kind of a gimme. Okay, let's see, I obviously have threats. My eye is drawn to bishop f8 check. Only move king here. Then can I take with the rook, and then he wouldn't be obliged to take. He could come here. That would lead to mate pretty quickly too, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. Okay, I'm pretty sure about this. Then I was thinking rook takes, because if knight takes and queen takes would lead to a checkmate, I believe. Another option would be to push this pawn. I don't know. That seems a little more unclear. You could take a couple ways there. That doesn't seem like that would be correct. But rook takes, knight takes, queen here, king g4 only move. And then I can just take this pawn. Yep. All right. Okay, so I'm in a pin that's preventing me from taking this bishop. And okay, I've also got a nice pawn here. And so his king is in a bit of stress. There aren't any checks to consider. And I don't think there are any legal captures either. So that's a bit unusual. Yeah, I mean, white has a pretty intimidating looking position, though. There's a pretty big threat of queen f7 checkmate. Or, I'm sorry, no, my rook guards that, but perhaps not sufficiently. Say takes, and I'm in some trouble. Quite a bit of trouble, in fact. So it seems like I need another defender, or I could just push this pawn. Pushing the pawn may be best, as awkward as it looks, just leaving this bishop in a great spot. But I just don't know if there's any other valid defense. Yeah. I think I'm going to just push. Okay. So yeah, worth noting this is mixed tactics mode, so I'll get some tactics that are defensive in nature. Alright, so I am in check. And I need to figure out the best way to deal with that. So the most tempting options immediately look like f5 and f3, just so that I'm attacking the rook. Yeah, because I mean, this knight is hanging. So I probably need to have a counterattack. So then the question is, which one is best? It's not going to be this one, I don't believe. Because if I go to f3, wouldn't rook f1 check be pretty annoying? Maybe not. I guess I could just take the rook, so. But in these kind of problems, there has to be a difference between the two squares. And it's unclear to me which would be better. I mean, f3, maybe I'm getting some kind of checkmating idea on white, but at the same time, maybe I'm walking into a trap, so to speak. Yeah, I think that would be the case. I'm going to go here. Okay. So I didn't work that one out quite enough. Yeah, okay. And then knight takes. So what I was looking at was... Yeah, okay. Hmm. It just seems like he can move the rook elsewhere, right? Or am I just threatening a checkmate? So let's say like rook here. I mean, can I get anything going? Has to go here. I mean, I can force a draw. So maybe that's the point. Is that at least in this line, I mean, it seems like it's still probably a draw, but I guess white has winning chances. So okay, I'm gonna quickly go check on laundry, and I'll be right back, and hopefully jump into a game. Okay, we'll not be jumping into the game just yet. So I'll keep this going. Okay. Yeah, so there's knight to f7 check, which could just, well, knight f7 check. King here would probably just lead to a mate. The king h7. I mean, maybe queen h3 check? Maybe. Okay, I mean, there's also pawn takes check. It just seems like knight takes. I don't see a follow from there. Actually, yeah, pawn takes, knight takes is forced. Then I would have h6 check, king here, h7 mate. Okay, so that's the sign for there's quicker mate, or I didn't work that out quite right. I don't see how that doesn't work. This is one thing that kind of irritates me with tactics sometimes, is like, I mean, assuming I'm correct that that's a mate in 3, I'm almost positive it is. Like, that should be good enough for credit, in my opinion. But I think it's saying there's a mate in 2, or maybe a different mate in 3 that it wants me to find. But I don't know. I don't see one right away, which is frustrating. Okay, am I just overlooking queen h3 check directly? Yeah. Okay. So, got it anyway. Okay. Well, I sure would love to get this rook to the back rank, which would be checkmate. So let's just say like rook b8. I think he can just go back and block. Other ideas? Nothing seems too tempting, honestly. I'm trying to see what sort of threats I can create. Not really finding too many. So rook b8 is still the only thing that jumps out at me, though I don't see what to do after rook d1. I mean, rook b2, maybe I can eventually win a pawn, but I don't know if that's really what the point of the problem is. Yeah, I mean c3. Yeah, I'm just still not sure what happens from there. Okay, I think I'm just going to try rook a because I don't really see much else. I didn't think that was correct. e3. Oh, okay. I think these pawns like this kind of confused me. I didn't see them as both being passed pawns. They kind of just looked like locked pawns in the center. Not that that's a good excuse, but yeah, okay. e3 makes a lot of sense. Okay, so clearly threatening the rook. And I think the issue here is he's also threatening knight e2 check, which would win this knight. So my rook move looks like it needs to be rook b2 to prevent that. And then I just need to stay on the second rank. Okay. Alright, now my rooks are forked. But he's dropped his bishop. Okay. So this piece is hanging, it would appear. Am I somehow getting my queen trapped? I think that is the idea here. He's threatening bishop f1, which would not trap my queen because I'll have a4 once I take the knight. And I don't see anything from there that would trap the queen, so yeah. Okay. Alright, we have an end game. This pawn is ready to promote, and looks like it may be very difficult. I'm thinking maybe I need to just get behind the pawn right away. That would be the principled approach. But if I grab this pawn, maybe rook d2 check. Maybe that doesn't work. I'm just trying to decide if do I have time to grab this pawn and then swing back behind? Probably not. Oh. Oh. Rook takes pawn, rook d4. I would have rook g5 check, and then I could swing behind this way. But I don't know. It feels like I shouldn't try to win that pawn. It feels like it's just a draw, and the simplest way to ensure that is to get behind this pawn. All right, we'll try that. Yeah, the pawn. Okay. Yeah, so, and follow-up line it's given is just king d5. That's a pretty computerish. Well, okay, maybe not. Yeah, and now this is a pretty well-known position. I mean, I think all white needs to really do to ensure the draw is just get the rook on the first rank, and then there's never any checks, there's never any tricks. Okay, let's do a couple more. Okay, so why can I not take this? Yeah, I think white has played this move thinking that if I take the bishop, rook c8 leads to checkmate, but I think I would just have knight e8 to block. This rook x-rays, this queen defends that rook. Okay. Queen under attack. And best square for the queen is it seems like there's a lot of options, so it'll be difficult to weed some of these out. I don't see any ideas of like sacking the queen here. Seems like black would be able to defend. So is there another threat here? I mean, this check is somewhat annoying, isn't it? I think it's too bad. What about queen e7, threatening queen f8 checkmate, and I don't see a square for the bishop. The bishop's got to move. Huh. Queen d6. Same idea, no? I guess, yeah. Okay. So I feel like my move won a piece, but this move wins a rook, I believe. Stops checkmate, gives up the rook. Okay. So what's wrong with my move? Maybe it's just, yeah, knight here. So that was what I missed. That was the other way to defend the mate. Okay. So a checkmate threat here. And I mean, the two most logical ways to defend appear to just be knight here, knight f6, or just f6. I mean, I'd love to get this bishop. But it doesn't seem like I'm going to have a problem doing it any other way. f6 is the more weakening. And then knight e7 check can come either way. But f6, 97 check, he then gets g6. I think I like this. Okay. So putting me into, or trying to put me into kind of a pin. I mean, I can just grab the bishop, right? I think I still survive after grabbing the bishop. Takes. Yeah, because at the very worst, at the end, I would have knight c8, and then his queen is pinned. We'll have a queen trade. Okay. All right, I'm going to go check the close once more. I feel confident they'll be ready this time. All right. So now I'm going to switch gears and get an actual game going. And this game will be to reach the lofty rating of 1900. When I say lofty, somewhat tongue-in-cheek. So let's see what we get. All right. I've been studying a new line against d4. So we'll see if he plays d4 and I get a chance to play it. No. Okay. So sticking with my bread and butter, the Sicilian. I may actually be getting ready to unleash a new line against e4 too, but it would likely just be a different flavor of Sicilian. Now that is an interesting move. I certainly don't see the problem with push, takes, bishop somewhere, taking here. course, he's not obliged to take, but generally speaking, if they let you play d5 here, I feel like you should. I'm not really worried about a check getting inserted. I can just block with my bishop. Or a check getting inserted this way, I'd also block with the bishop. Maybe the knight in that case. I'd have to think about that. Okay, so takes. So now bishop where? Wouldn't be stunned to see him insert this check. Okay. So now I can just leave him with a pretty awful kingside pawn structure. I think I'm just going to do that. I feel like my advantage is already pretty good, to be honest. I want to get castled. There's still some interesting possibilities. I mean, like this push, bishop here, I could get. It's not really a tempo move, though. It is somewhat. I mean, I could kick his bishop around the board a little bit. I mean, it may be good to get this guy on this diagonal. On the other hand, a pawn on g6 would be sort of a convenient way for him to offload this bad pawn. Yeah, so I don't think I prefer developing that way. I think I'd prefer to just develop my bishop out here. So, that being the case, yeah. I think I'm going to go knight here. I'm already kind of dubious about that move. Okay. Yeah. I wish I hadn't played that. Okay, I think I'm just going to bring this knight out. I'm not worried about any kind of pin. Yeah, that's what I was worrying is my dark squared bishop's development. He also has rook G1 to kind of frustrate me in that regard. I think I can just push d4 if his bishop is too irritating. That's interesting. e6 doesn't seem so bad. Yeah, I think I just like b6. 6 b4 I take. Or maybe I take with the knight. Yeah. I mean, this does leave the pawn, or the knight, not undefended. Maybe somewhat loosely defended, but e6 is probably a move I wanted to play anyway. Always forget this. Okay, and now I almost want to play knight e5, as kind of backwards as that looks. I guess bishop check, other knight here perhaps. That would hang, no, that doesn't hang that. I mean, I could just go ahead and kick this guy. I wouldn't have to worry about him jumping in further because after a6 he would be trapped. I'm a little worried about this light squared bishop, but maybe that's not worth worrying about. It also is somewhat counterintuitive to be placing my pawns on dark squares when I have a dark squared bishop. Yeah, that's probably something I shouldn't do. Now I could go ahead and fianchetto. That may not be so bad. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. That seems like the safest way to play. Yeah, I looked at a6 a little bit. a6 may have been good. I felt like maybe I was tying my rook to the defense a little too much. But I guess I would have b5 at some point thereafter. Okay. I can fork and take away his light squared bishop, which might be his peskiest piece. Other ideas, I mean, this attack on the queen is also present, but it just doesn't seem like it threatens as much. So I think I like this and just kind of getting rid of some of the pressure he's got going right now. Is this a concern then? I can just fill in with the other knight. I would drop the pawn at the end of that line. I mean, I could throw in something like c4 first. Actually, no, I'm not dropping this pawn because the knight's pinned to the bishop. Ah, no, but my... Oh, and... Yeah, no, that would not be dropping a pawn. Okay, I think I'm going to go for this. I probably should have also just looked at castling and playing a little safer. But I feel like with his structure in the shape that it is, that I'm okay. So I don't see a reason to not just take. I can take, he'll retake with the queen, and then I can play d4, which would shut down his, well, yeah. Well, I think I'd need to take, just because of how weak my light squares are. Opens this bishop up. And now I'll probably just castle. That seems like the safest way to continue. Yeah, I'm just going to play it safe. I like the looks of queen d7. Maybe not. Hmm. I mean, d5 makes an awful lot of sense. I just hate that I'm shutting down my bishop when I do that. I think it's still got to be good, though. I mean, I give this square to my knight, or maybe even my queen. Bishop, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess another problem with it is his knight gets pretty strong. I definitely don't like that. Okay. I think I am going to just play here. And I can bring a rook in behind as another defender of d5. And I'm technically threatening this pawn. Well, actually, I'm not because of the queen. But yeah, I think he thought that I was. So h5 doesn't seem awful, just to put a stop to that business. Perhaps a little bit weakening. Um, but I don't know. I don't think I want to let him push forward. I'm going to play h5. We'll see how the computer likes that after the game. That'll be an interesting moment to look at. It certainly feels like my advantage has somewhat gone away. Okay. I think I still just want to bring this rook in. I mean, other ideas would be like doing this kind of stuff. That's a lot of tempi. Yeah, I mean, I think I just want this rook opposite the queen. Free up my queen for other activities. Insightful comment from my opponent. Something I've never understood is why people complain about the time control when they agreed to it. I mean, if you ask me, he's thinking too quickly, but, I don't go on and on about it. What about d4, d3? I don't know. Don't know about that one. I think I'm just going to go here. See what he thinks about a queen trade. This would help my knight if he takes, help my knight get into the game a little bit more. So now rook here looks good. Or how about just this fork? Well, he is threatening my knight, so. Yeah, let's go here. Now I am threatening this fork. He needs to hang around the defense here. I've got some discovery ideas. Okay, he didn't see the fork. If he plays queen e4, I just take. Yeah, queen e4 would actually be a blunder. Okay. So anything better than just taking? I don't think so. Oops. Let's do that and not just draw the arrow. Maybe his thought was to try to take here, but my queen's on it. And now I think I don't love trading, I must admit. Takes. Yeah, I'd much rather just get his queen off the board. I think I'm still okay if I like take, knight here. I'm just picking up this pawn, opening up my rooks for mass destruction. Okay. Reducing the game, simplifying the game makes sense when I have a material and a strategic advantage, positional advantage. Yeah, so he takes that way. So that keeps the pawn, but opens my rook. I think this is still a pretty good move. Yeah, I really like that move. And maybe I'm even bringing my rook in next was one move that caught my eye. Of course, I'm threatening some pawns. If he pushes, I might think about going in here. Okay. I can take here and force the queen trade. That seems very beneficial. So takes. Yeah. Is there anything else? I don't think so. Just up a clean knight. Okay. Somewhat of an artificial threat. I mean, I think here looks pretty good. Yeah, I think so. He needs to go to b2 to protect the pawn. He does. So now rook e3. Maybe I have to worry about some pin here. I don't think so, though. Because I can always play rook d to e8 if he pins me. Okay. So I can just take here. Yeah. And then he wants to play rook here, but that would run into this. So just up a clean rook now. Let's try to get to the 7th, or the 2nd in my case. I'm going to be pretty irritated if this guy's actually left. Not stunned, mind you, but very irritated. It's unbelievable to me that people will do that. Like I don't get it. Like what do you prove by doing that? I'll report him. I don't know if the mods actually do anything about. I think they do though, because I think there's an option when you report, like what was this person doing? You can just say stalling. Oh, nice. Okay. I forgot that if they are just completely offline, it'll let you do that. So I have definitely had it happen before where the guys just stuck around and sat there staring at the board for 20 minutes and made me sit it out. Okay. So I thought overall I played well, but I had an advantage out of the opening, and it felt like maybe I didn't seize the initiative as much as I should have. So I think that's going to be my focus in analysis, is trying to find how I could have done that better. I will go ahead and have the computer make a once over. My stream gets kind of laggy when this happens. I've noticed when I'm doing this. I've noticed, so I won't run through any moves just yet. But it'll be interesting to see what this graph indicates. I'm over 1900, which I achieved briefly a week or two ago. And before that, it had been probably 6 months. So hopefully I can stick around this time. I feel like I've been playing well lately, but my track record would indicate that I go through spells of playing well and then spells of playing pretty poorly. So I have to remain vigilant. Yeah, the computer is. Yep. So looks like I was able to get an advantage, and I actually kept the advantage the entire game. Okay, let's back up. So e4 Sicilian. I see this Bodler attack fairly regularly with bishop c4, and yeah, I mean the computer says it's dead even. The master database says black wins 44% of the time, white wins 33%. It just doesn't seem like a great line to me. But yeah, I don't know. I do see it a lot though. And then yeah, this move never really makes any sense. Well, okay, I won't say never, but I would say on move 3, knight h3 is very, very seldom a good move. Um, the computer doesn't go as far as to call this an inaccuracy for him, but I I think it's a pretty bad move if I'm being honest. So the computer wants me to continue knight f6 or d5. I like just the direct approach of leaving him with this weakness. Yeah, the computer doesn't even advocate bishop takes. I mean, I guess the plus side is that I'm always threatening to take and just leave him with that awful structure. So I can just continue with my development and at least he would have to spend a tempo if he wants to avoid it. But the move the computer recommends is one that I hadn't considered, but makes a lot of sense. Bishop d6, which just takes away the square, both squares that the knight could potentially come to in some sort of reasonable sense. I mean, the knight can go back, but I've definitely gained something there. So I guess I got a little greedy when I saw this capture happen, but I can't be too upset with it because it's just a good game for black after this. So the computer wants knight c6. Yeah, I thought for a while here how I wanted to develop, and I think I just got to a point where I felt like I'd spent enough time I needed to make a move, but I think I made a poor one. My concern was that rook g1 was coming, and that I needed to have some way to stop this threat so that I could get my bishop out. And I didn't like fianchettoing because I was worried that he would just be able to offload this good pawn. Maybe I shouldn't have been so reluctant to just play h5 if he ever plays h4. But yeah, so my idea was I'm going to play my knight over to block the rook, but I totally overlooked that he has this bishop just looking at that square, and I think he would be pretty happy if he can inflict a pawn structural weakness on me to sort of compensate for the one that he has. So that wasn't a good plan. Knight f6 was definitely better. Knight c6, also good. I wanted to develop a queenside piece just to get castled because I knew that I had a sizable advantage already, and I just felt like, I wanted to consolidate the position a little bit. So, again, the computer doesn't call this an inaccuracy, but I am chalking this up as a bad move for me. And yeah, even this idea of fianchettoing makes it really tough. Now I can't fianchetto. I guess I could, but then I'm just obliged to play d5, and then this bishop maybe gets stronger than I'd like. So, okay. Yeah, I didn't really care for that move. I thought he should, just play bishop b2 and keep pressure on this pawn. It would make it very awkward for my bishop to develop. But I think my opponent just saw that this pawn was loose and kind of jumped on it. I'm a bit surprised that the computer doesn't like my next move, b6. Yeah, it wants me to just continue my plan and play knight g6. I mean, I did see that I could move the knight to defend this pawn, but I still just thought that, like, after knight here takes, I would probably be inclined, I don't know, this way. I mean, it's saying that he shouldn't even take. But I don't know. Like, it wants me to throw in a check. Or play h takes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can see h takes, I suppose. Open this rook, this weak pawn, and get the bishop out, and my king can probably just find safety on his own. It just felt like I didn't need to concede this. But I didn't need to walk into a difficult position to defend. And I really thought b6 was a good move to play anyway, just to reinforce this pawn. I mean, I alluded to the fact that I didn't like this bishop just having free reign on my queen side, but I don't know, it seems like I can always stay a step ahead of him there. Okay. Yeah, and so now I realized that this was a good chance to finally just accept that I needed to defeat Ghetto. Him blocking up that diagonal is what made that possible. And it even, for a moment, thought it still is kind of debating between bishop h6 and bishop g7. I'd never considered h6. So, okay, bishop g7. Queen here, yeah, and... Okay, it doesn't like my move that just trades pieces. It wants me to go ahead and castle. Which, right after I move, I alluded to the fact that maybe I should have just considered that a little bit more. So the problem with this is, yeah, okay, I mean, I saw this move. Oh, and it even thinks king f8, which I did look at, but thought that it looked kind of silly. I was planning to just play this, and apparently that squanders the advantage entirely. So takes, takes, takes is a line that I did not see. I have to castle or I'm dropping a piece. Yeah. And then he castles, I would think, long. Okay, it's, yeah, castles long or bishop takes c6. Yeah, I mean, this knight is strong. There's no doubting that. Yeah. I can see where that makes up for his weak pawns. Okay, so that was just a line that I didn't, yeah, I never considered that if I play this, I'm allowing for this queen capture. Okay, so a bit of a miscalculation there, but the game didn't go down that line. Now everything just feels extremely safe. It's just a matter of slowly amping up the pressure and not blundering, which is trickier than it should be. Yeah, I mean, rook e8 is a move that makes a lot of sense, just improving the rook, and I mean, I'm probably going to want to play rook e8 eventually anyway. I did in the game. I guess I wanted to just complete development and connect my rooks, try to figure out something to do with my queen. I will admit that I did think I was attacking this pawn, I missed, as my opponent, I think, missed, that his queen was defending. I mean, luckily I saw that after I moved, and I was never considering taking this pawn after that. But even if the queen weren't defending there, I don't know that I would take this pawn. I mean, that pawn is just so weak that I think I can win it whenever I want, and I would rather improve my position first and worry about that pawn later. In any event, I think he thought that there was some threat there, or maybe he just wanted to try to offload the pawn, which I don't think is a bad idea. And for that reason, I just stopped that. And I said I was interested to see if the computer would like that, and the computer did. I mean, I feel like it's okay as long as I have my dark squared bishop around to defend these squares. So, yeah, I didn't really. The computer does suggest rook h to g1, but yeah, rook d to g1 doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, this rook just does nothing the rest of the game. Well, I think he does end up moving it later, but there's no reason that he couldn't have just moved that rook onto the g file if he wanted to create this pseudo pin here. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably not a move that would even really cross my mind. Yeah, rook. But in a similar vein, it wants me to play rook a to e8, which I would really hardly ever consider. I would just play rook f to e8. But I guess that does leave this pawn somewhat weak. It also likes d4 here. I looked at d4, but I just thought that the knight coming here was stronger than I should allow. Anyway, here, king b1, always play king b1. Or rook e1, which makes a lot more sense. He played a move. Okay, it wasn't here. Yeah, and I'm happy to see that the computer actually thinks that my move was best. I feel like that's not the kind of move that I play very often. But that's kind of just putting my advantage to work, just saying like, hey, I'm comfortable trading down into a one endgame. And I mean, really just kind of bullying his queen around for him to try to avoid that trade. And he did immediately put her on a bad square. And I think it was good that I didn't just say like, oh, these pieces are there, this is a fork. I found that, I mean, it's somewhat obvious in this position, but, you know, this is hanging, so I wouldn't be winning a piece in that line. I mean, I'm sure it's still fine, but, you know, I get this rook e8, rook f to e8 move in for free here, and it's a move that I've been wanting to play, so good to find that. And then, yeah, he just didn't see that this fork was happening. And, yeah, I mean, it's just nothing from here. Yeah, I did look at this move, but I thought just simplification, and I thought he would probably retake with the queen, and then this move comes with tempo. Although I guess he really wanted to hold on to this pawn. But that's, I thought, good for me too. Knight d5 still good. Yeah, and then just finding the way to take the last threat really out of the game. I wanted f6 here. Yeah, okay. But this is all pretty moot. I mean, it's just a pretty simple win. As long as you don't blunder, which I didn't. And even though I was in a vastly superior position, I was trying to keep stock of, you know, I knew he wanted to double in this file and get at this pawn. But, yeah, I tried to not lose sight of that. I had this move ready, which ended up closing the game out. And I also saw that, okay, I can just bring this rook up to defend if I have to. So, yeah, game over there. Okay, so yeah, excited to be a 1900 player again. Hopefully, I can keep that going. I'm going to call it a night, but I will be back on tomorrow night, probably around the same time, probably start between 8 or 9, and try to get, a classical game in. So until next time, I hope everyone has a good evening.